Well, I just tried to hit my button to start this video and it said mic in use. So it wouldn't do it. I had to hit it again. My mic was in use? How? I wasn't using it. Anyway, a lot of people, they see me, you know, being at my mom's or back to my mom's a lot. Trust me, I never wanted to be here. Nope, it was my ex and my mom that manipulated us into coming here. I did not want to be here. And before you all go off on your own little theories, I am autistic. High functioning, but autistic. ADHD. Post traumatic stress from childhood trauma and a sub shop blowing up. I'm not like, I'm very high functioning with that as well. But like, people manipulating, bullying, things along those lines, yeah, that sets off my PTSD real quick. I've heard some people talking about how supposedly my parents took care of my kids. No, they didn't. No, the fuck they didn't. They barely ever watched them. They were barely ever around them. The most they were around them was when we moved in here. And they still, for the 2 years that they were here, barely around them. So they're around them more, but still barely around them. Uh, it was after Tiff moved out with the kids that they started asking if they wanted to go to the baseball games in town. Yeah, before that, we were never asked to go, ever. When we did Upwards, basketball, we would have games right with, my nieces and nephews, my brothers and sisters' kids, and they still would barely ever interact with my kids. The ones that they took care of was my brother's son, Willie, and my sister's kids up until she got with Kevin. Then Kevin took care of them. It wasn't her. She just played the part. And she made manipulative little situations when she wanted to be lazy. Yeah, I know my sister. I know exactly what she did. This is the same girl that'll flip out and say that she's worked since she was 12 years old, which is a lie. She has not worked since she was 12 years old. She has gotten in trouble and done nothing but everything she wasn't supposed to do, so she would have to go to work with my mom because she wanted to go there anyway. She liked the attention. And of course, mom put her to work rolling silverware. You know, she was washing dishes. That didn't last long. She threw a fit and ended up becoming a hostess or whatever. She wasn't very good at it. She didn't make much money. I, on the other hand, started a mowing business when I was 8, and it was because my mother told me I was too small to be mowing. So I mowed our grass and our neighbors just to prove I could. And then everybody started asking me to cut their grass and how much I charged. And I didn't know the going rate, so I just said $5 and $2 for trimming. And they were like, "Oh, you're cheaper than everybody else." I didn't even know I was doing that. I just set a price that I felt was fair. So it turned into 200 to 300 yards pretty much every summer for a while. Then I got into football and actually working for restaurants and doing construction. So yeah, I've always worked. But she was in punishment. She wasn't working. She was in punishment, if you want to call that punishment. Right. This is the same girl that spent thousands of dollars on modeling, cheerleading, and other things, but swears up and down she never got to do nothing. Right. We got football and baseball. Baseball we didn't want to do. Football I wanted to do, and I was told I couldn't, and I paid for it myself my first year. The sign-ups and all that, yeah, my entry fee and all that, I paid that my first year after school. My mom was mad when she found out she had to take me to football practice. That's one reason why I started staying at my cousin's, because I could go to football practice from there, because it was right in town. No, I wasn't the best, but I was pretty good. Made middle linebacker, which is pretty difficult being one of the smallest people on the team. I would have made quarterback if I was taller, and that's what they kept telling me. You got one hell of an arm, but you can't see over the line. I said, yes, I can. Tell them to stay down. Yeah, I was joking. They were all tall. Shit. It felt like everybody was always 6 foot. I felt like I was like 2 foot. I wasn't. I was like 4 feet, but I'm just a normal, average dude. But yeah, my parents never paid for my kids. I did. And when I got into stuff where she was fighting for attention and I had to, you know, take a break and pretty much coddle to her to get her straight again, that's what would get us in trouble. And she knew it. She thought it was funny. But it's pretty funny. Every place we've lived, even though not all of them were the greatest, the kids loved it. Nothing felt like more like home to them than where we were. So people can say what they want. Yep, she tried to set me up multiple times, and a lot of it I didn't see or put together until after we broke up and the kids were getting hurt. Well, the kids were in trouble. They were saying they were scared, and I did. I tried everything and got myself in all kinds of trouble, and all that did was make the cops not listen to me, and she knew it. Is what I mean by she did have this planned, and she was working it for years. It wasn't just an off the whim thing. They were waiting for the perfect time to do what they were going to do. And David, that night, attacking the kids in the car, which I know he did because he was pissed off texting me about something he should have never even known about. And this is why I didn't want them knowing, because he was going to get mad. She talked him into putting up court cases against me and lying. And because of that, I didn't want to spend time with him. I thought me and him needed a break. And he picked the wrong time to start doing this stuff, because and I think his mother did it on purpose because she knew I was going to take them all to an amusement park that summer. And he pulled what he pulled. So I decided instead of 2 months together and him only getting the time with me, that he wasn't getting anything because I knew what he did to try and manipulate and get what he wanted, and he wasn't getting it. So I was going to take the other three and me out to Dorney Park. Yeah, season pass. Like I said, there's certain times you can get the whole family in on one season pass. That's why I would get it, because one season pass could take us all out multiple times throughout the year. Saves money. Still get to have fun. Yeah, these are the things Tiff would never use. You don't believe me? I still have the old season passes. She has her card. I believe her card is here if I didn't give it to her. But I think I gave it to her so she could take them when we broke up, and she still didn't take them. Oh yeah, she even had David's last foster family manipulated. She had everybody manipulated. They were so mad at me, and Megan is such a feminist. It ain't even funny. I feel sorry for freaking her husband. He's a good dude. But her, oh my gosh, she is a controlling little shit. Yeah, I remember picking David up for one of our visits, and one of the things David liked to do, as long as he was good, was play on a tablet. And in his spare time, I would let him do that. But I guess she took it as we just let him play on a tablet all the time. No, it's regulated. As soon as we get to the house, he ain't gonna have that tablet. He's gonna be hanging out with his family. Relax, lady. I know how to be a parent. But I didn't say anything like that. I'm just, going off of how she's acting and what she's saying as I'm picking him up. And I picked him up. He got in the back. I put his belt on. I gave him the tablet. And I hear her mutter, "Not on my watch." Well, excuse me, but you're not his fucking parent. Get the fuck out of my face. Yeah, she was so snooty and shit towards me every time I would, go to pick him up by myself. Now, if Tiff was there, she was totally different. I even offered to do their floor for free. And they ignored me. They acted like I was this, that, and the other. And guess what, Megan? This happened under Tiffany's watch and her mother's. The one she told you was threatening our kids for 12 years. Yeah, she just gave them to her. Imagine that. Wonder why. Oh, so she could go out and party. But yeah, she's such a great mom. No, that was me, dumbass. This is what I mean by men just get this delusional persona and women just roll with it. If other people are going to roll with it with them, yep, guess what? It becomes a false reality because these people believe it's reality and it never happened. Boy, I wonder what does that manipulation. And if it's not actually the guy doing it, then there's only one other person they can be. Yeah, Tiffany stayed on state assistance even though she was making plenty of money. She would forge my name, she would use my social security number, and do whatever the hell she wanted, even though we were not married. She did not have authorization to do that. She had it at one point because I was not working at that time. Work was very slow, and I wasn't finding any jobs anywhere. So yeah, she had to go on it for a little bit for that. But there was times where she was to drop it, and she never did. She told me she did, and she kept telling me, "Oh, this is just stuff I still had on the card. This is just stuff I still had on the card." It's a year later. How the hell you still have money on that card? Yeah, everything she did was lying, manipulating, and benefit of the doubt. Why do they do that? Because by the time you figure out the truth, they got away with what they did. And it's funny how there's so many of these women out there doing it openly, right in front of everybody's face, and then swearing up and down that it was their ex or this or that, or getting on the internet and saying that their ex was a narcissist and all this, but he's not hunting them down, stalking them, trying to ruin their lives. That's what a narcissist does. I started putting out all the facts and the stuff that I was putting together about the kids. And yes, I was putting their name in it because they're the ones that are in the situation. And yes, I was telling my story. And here they come, attacking my social media, attacking everything I put up, coming out of left field with a story that is fucking ridiculous just to get people to believe them. And what did people do? A lot of people did not believe them. It was this group of feminists that were mad at me because I told them like it was. They were a bunch of cherry pickers and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They ran into a bunch of immature men that probably were good men until they seen what these women were up to. And we're like, all right, I got you. You want to play dirty, they're going to play dirty. And a lot of men ain't going to say it. They're just going to do shit. They're going to be like, fuck this. And guess what? That is, and when that happens, that is that female's fault. Because that shit would have never went that way if she wasn't doing shady shit and them noticing. And you, the female that does that, let me tell you something. Those guys might be rowdy, they might be a little goofy, but that's what puts joy into life. Okay? A lot of them, the good ones, I'm not talking about the fuckboys that trick people into believing they're one of these good ones. I'm talking about one of the good ones. This is what you turn them into, is those F boys right there. Yeah, you can blame whoever you want. That's not true. It's you. They will. They'll blame it on everything. I'm surprised they haven't blamed it on the frickin' star position. Jeez, man. No, it's you. Is it so hard to accept that you know that you're a piece of shit and you just don't want to admit it? Yes, there are piece of shit women out there. And yes, they will have kids, go through marriage, act like they love somebody, go through all that pain just to use them any which way it fits their what they want. If they want attention, they will use them for attention. If they want them for money, they will use them for that. And it ain't like they're just going to use them for one thing. They're going to use them for any of those things multiple times. Do they give a shit about that kid? No. They went through all that pain delivering that kid. Everybody thinks they have this type of bond, and they don't. And then they're like, oh, it's postpartum. No, the fuck it's not. It can't be postpartum if you were that way before. It's you. There's something fucking wrong with you. Ridiculous. Anytime I've ever borrowed money from anybody, it's been paid back. Like, I was having trouble working because of Tiffany and all the bullshit. So I borrowed $1,000 off my stepdad. And this is a man that anytime I've ever had to borrow money off of him and mom, it has always been paid back. Okay? He gives me all kinds of hell. But I end up finding work. I went to work for Elkton Carpet and Tile and ended up paying him back within a month. 200 a week. And my mom's yelling at me, well, even a bank loan. I was like, look, I just want it paid off. They know how I get. That's what I do. I get it paid the fuck off. If I had enough money to pay it all off at once and still have money in my pocket, I would do it at one shot. I was waiting for a big job to be able to do that. But because I was only making 28 or 25%, and yeah, Dave Fye tried to say that I was worth way more than that and tried to offer me more, and I told him no. 25 because you have a crew to pay. He did. He had two other dudes, plus he has to pay insurance, and he has to cover van materials, and supposed to have insurance, dude. That's pretty fucked up. Your experienced installer that works with your crew has insurance, but you don't. That's funny. Yeah, I boosted him up majorly. He added one person to his crew and quadrupled the amount of money he made. And most of the time, he wasn't even on the job. So, yeah, I did 700 yards. Do you guys realize how much 700 yards is? Square yards. That's 3 foot by 3 foot squared. 700 of them. And that's just the installation part. That's not even the tearing out part. The same amount is coming out. Pad and carpet. Okay, that's a lot. And we did that, well, I should say in 3 days. Well, I know carpet crews that can do it in 2. Yeah, and they normally have about 6 to 8 people on there that know what they're doing. They don't have 2 helpers that are good at carrying stuff, but that's about it. The one dude was learning stretching and all that, and he wasn't very good at it. He was learning, he was getting better, but he kept letting his personal life fuck with, and the fact that he wasn't really into his work. I showed him how to fix things when he would pull them short or this or that, or I showed him techniques on how to get the carpet even tighter because you can turn your kicker and your pan into a mini stretcher, and I showed him how to do that. And Dave was even shocked. He's like, "Oh no, we got to get this out. We got to get this out." I said, "No, we don't. Watch this." I said, "Stand back there on that tack strip." And I had Rick right next to me, and I'm like, "Dude, you see that inch you pulled it away because you weren't because he wasn't. He was pissed off and really nailing the kicker because he thought I was there to take his place. Buddy, you didn't make the amount of money you did until I got there. You made 4 times the amount of money you ever made with him. And you were about to get fired. I was the one that kept you working. He wanted to get rid of you. And he didn't want you working every day. He got mad at me because I would bring you every day. And I pulled him aside and said, "You think of him as your son, do you?" "Well, yeah." I said, "He's out there getting in trouble. You leave his ass out there not working, he's going to be in trouble. What the fuck are you thinking?" "Well, he didn't show up for." Yeah, it's because you're giving him too many days off and he's getting comfortable with not doing shit. "Well, you don't tell. I will tell you. Don't fucking sit here and try and tell somebody you think of them as a son and then secretly try and push them out of their job, which is the only fucking thing keeping them out of prison. What are you doing? You keep him working." Yeah, and dude, I was so mad. And then this little son of a bitch tries to go behind my back and start whining to Dave like, "Oh, he's taking food off my plate." I took him out to lunch at Naughty Goose, which is something I don't do. I don't spend that type of money. I paid for the whole thing, and me and him's talking. And I walked out to smoke on the bench or the dock or the deck, before our food came, because it was cold and windy that day, so I wasn't fucking sitting out there by the water while it's freezing. But I did go out there and smoke and talk to him, and I told him, I said, "Look, man, I heard you said that I've been taking money off your table." "Well, yeah, man, and more people to be paid less money for me." "Really? So your percentage?" "Well, no, I get paid by the day." "Oh, okay. So it doesn't matter. Just as long as you work, you know, the full day or days for that week, you get the same amount, right?" "Well, yeah. So how's that taking money off your table or your out of your mouth or out of your pocket or off your table?" "Well, yeah, I want to hear this math because it doesn't make any sense. You've worked more with me being here. You've made more money with me being here, even though you didn't show up for work and almost got fired. So, by my calculations, you've made way more money than you ever have." And he said, "True." I said, "So, how is that taking money from you then? Wouldn't that be giving you money?" "Well, yeah." "All right, then. Then don't run your fucking mouth like that about me. You got something to say, I'm right here. I don't care if I don't like you. You're on my crew. I'm going to look out for you until you start fucking with money or business. Then we have a problem. Some fuck ups, all right, I'll let it go for a while. But once you really keep fucking up and don't give a shit and start, attacking me like this, yeah, you're going to leave." And he's like, "Well, you're the new guy." I said, "No, I'm not the new guy." I said, "I might be new to this crew, but I've got more experience than any one of you." I said, "I'm telling you, Dave and me do not need you to. You're here because we're teaching you and letting you make money. That's it. We could do all this ourselves. Trust me, I don't even need Dave there." He's like, "Well, yeah, I see that." I said, "Yeah, You do see that because he sits in the truck while I do all the fucking work. So what do I need him for? All he's doing is supplying the truck. All the tools are my tools. So he's not even supplying tools. That's what I'm talking about. This dude was supposedly having, heart problems and was on a monitor. So I told him, sit in the truck, don't touch nothing. This was, a while after me working for him. And I did. I handled everything. I did the same thing for Dave Heffron, the other dude I worked for when I was 17 and 18. Yeah, he was having some issues because he was getting ready to get divorced, and he was getting to levels in life where he was not capable of working. Let's put it that way. So I would take him, let him sleep it off at his little camper that he had. Well, it was like a vacation spot down by the water, you know, and I would drop him off there. I'd go do the job, and then I'd come back, pick him up, and we'd go back to the American Home Interiors, clock out, come in the next day, do the same thing again. Take him over there, let him go sleep it off, and then I'd go do some work. The fucked up part is Dave couldn't tell them that I was doing that, and he just told them I really knew my shit. Because my first day of working with him, he thought I didn't know how to lay out pad, I didn't know how to do tack strip, I didn't know how to lay out carpet, I didn't know how to seam or stretch. And dude, he's sitting in the van talking, and I've already got the job ripped up, new tack strip in place, new padding, and getting ready to lay the carpet out. I come out to pull the carpet out of the back of the van. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready to lay the carpet out." He said, "There ain't no way." And he got out and went in there and seen all my take up rolled up nice and neat next to the porch out front and everything ready to go for carpet. He said, "Holy shit." I said, "Yeah, I don't play." Yeah, I told them I had 3 years, and I really only had 2 years at that time. And they thought I lied and had even more experience. I'm like, "What are you talking about? I didn't lie." Yeah, the first time I got called into Royce's office was like the first week I worked there, and I was scared. I was like, "Damn, what I do?" And he's acting really serious. He's like, "You lied to me." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "There's no way you have 3 years." I said, "What?" I thought he was gonna act like I had less. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Dave said that the stuff I did was way better than any helper you guys have ever had. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you have? 4 or 5 years? 6 years?" I said, "No, I actually have 2 years." He said, "No way." I said, "Yeah." And I told him who I worked for. I said, "It's all in my application. You could have called him." So he calls my uncle while I'm sitting right there. And Uncle John's like, "Yeah, he's one hell of an installer." And Royce is like, "After 2 years," he said, "you have no clue how much hours he has." And Royce is like, "Well, why don't you give me a clue?" He's like, "Well, 20 hours a day, 6 days a week for the past 2 years." And Royce said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." After that, dude, I got $1 raise, another dollar raise, another dollar raise, another $2 raise, and then they told me they couldn't give me any more raises until the end of the year. They wanted to, but they said they can't, not until I become an installer. I said, "Well, make a spot for another installer." And at the time, they had Dave Ferguson as a custom trim guy and wood guy, Bill Abel as custom cabinets, and Dave Heffron as carpet and vinyl. So it was in the works, and then management changed hands. And then for some reason, it's like they forgot all about me. Yeah, man. I worked there for a while. It's Elkton Carpet and Tile now. They bought the building that used to be American Home Interiors. But yeah, my work is still in his uh, building, even though he's changed it a little bit. Like Larry's office, I did. Royce's office is still there that I did. And then one at the back room where they store a lot of the uh, like seam tape stuff like that. It's still got my freaking sculptured carpet in there that I put in there. They called it Pen Dot when I was putting it in. They probably changed the name by now. Which to me that'd be stupid. You had it for that for decades, and now you're gonna change it. And ridiculous. But yeah, man. The only reason why I ever accepted being or trying to have a family or anything like that was because of Bethany. And even though she tried to play games and keep me away from him being delivered, I was still there. Which that's what trips me out about her dad, because he was the one that made sure I knew everything they were lying about, and then I find out that he's lying and manipulating too. I'm like, why do all these people have their hooks into this situation when they were the ones that set it up and pushed for it? And then I, I, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Kyle, I promise you, buddy, that's the truth. 100%. Bethany, I know you're getting up there. You need to start telling him the truth. I don't know what your deal is with me. I never did nothing wrong to you. Ever. Holding you accountable for your laziness, yeah, that's not doing something wrong to you. All this shit you did. And then you gave that boy to your mom. The craziest bitch, one of the craziest bitches I've ever met. And you go and just hand this child over to him or her. And what did she do? She almost got him killed and taken. Imagine that.